Hi everyone, welcome back to Reading Corner. I really hope you're doing well this week and that you're enjoying these videos of all of the books and stories. I know that I am absolutely loving it. And I'm loving Sports Supporters Week. Today I'm supporting the Fair Park Lions, which is the football club here in Melbourne that my son plays for. And I hope that you've enjoyed and still will enjoy wearing the colours and the hats and scarves and everything of your favourite sports teams, be it hockey or basketball or football or whatever sport it is that you love to support. And the other thing that I love to do is read you stories. And I am reading again this week from the Golden Book Treasury Favourites. And these books are fantastic because they have dozens of wonderful classic stories from the Little Golden Book range. So the first book that I'll be reading today is called Little Boy with a Big Horn, all about a boy called Ollie who is learning to play the bass horn and the troubles that he gets into, but also the adventures that he has. And then, let me just find the page, we're reading about Five Little Firemen, different people who are having different sorts of adventures. And then the very last one comes from the Blue Book, and it is called The Kitten Who Thought He Was a Mouse. So I really hope that you enjoy these stories today. So we're going to get started with Ollie's story, The Little Boy with a Big Horn. Ollie was learning to play the bass horn. Ollie was a small boy and the horn was a big horn. He knew only one tune. It was called Asleep in the Deep. It told about a shipwreck and brave sailors. Maybe you know that tune. The music goes way down deep like this. Many brave hearts are asleep in the deep, so beware, beware. Ollie loved that song, but Ollie's mother said, "Please, not in the house, Ollie. I can't think straight about my housework." "Yes, mother," said Ollie, and took his horn into the backyard. "Beware, beware," boomed the big horn. "Aroo!" howled all the town dogs. "Oh, bother," said all the neighbours. Everybody agreed that the town must do something to stop Ollie from playing that horn. All together, they called on Ollie's mother. "We love music," they said, "but too much is too much." "But the boy must practice," said Ollie's mother. "Perhaps, but not here," said the neighbours. "We must think of a better place," said Ollie's mother. Yes, a better place," they all agreed. "But where?" Everyone thought hard. "I have it," Ollie cried. Everybody stopped thinking and looked at him. "I'll go way off in the fields. Nobody can hear me there." "Splendid," said everybody. "Wonderful idea," they agreed. "Ollie is a good boy," said his proud mother. Ollie set out for the distant pastures. The sun was hot. He grew tired, but he kept on. Far from home, he stopped at last. He spread out his music and took up his horn. First, he played unk, unk, unk. Over the hill, the farmer's cows were grazing. "Moo," said one. "Aroo," bawled another. The busy farmer heard them. "Drat," he said, "the old muley has fallen in the ditch again." Pitchfork in hand, he came running to rescue his cows. When he saw Ollie, the farmer was angry. "You can't play that horn here," he said. "It's enough to sour their milk." "Oh dear," sighed Ollie. He picked up his horn and turned homeward. The sun shone hot on his back. He was thirsty and tired. "Seems as if there is no place in the world where I can learn to play my horn," he sighed. So he went and got his rowboat and began to row far out from the shore. Some dangerous rocks marked the entrance to the harbour, but there was no bell to warn incoming vessels. And now a thick fog was spreading over the ocean. Every day at this time, a steamship brought passengers and freight to the town where Ollie lived. The ship must be somewhere even now, but the rocks were hidden by the fog. I will play my horn to warn the ship, said Ollie. So Ollie stayed and played, asleep in the deep. The gulls squawked angrily, but for once, Ollie went right on playing. The ship was drawing closer. The captain peered through the fog. He and his crew could see nothing. They could hear nothing but the sea. But what was that noise? Beware, boomed Ollie's big horn. The men on the ship were amazed. Stop the ship, cried the captain. Lower a boat and find out what's making music out here on the ocean. And that was how they found Ollie and escaped being wrecked upon the rocks. We owe our lives to this brave boy, said the steamship captain, and all the passengers cheered. The mayor gave Ollie a handsome medal marked for bravery, and the town sent Ollie to music school. The end. It's a bit of a fun one. Sometimes it can be a challenge when we're learning to play a new instrument and learning to get all the notes right, but it all works out in the end. So the next story we're going to read is about the Five Little Firemen. So let's see what they get up to. A little house caught on fire. The fire started so quietly, and it was such a little fire at first. First, a flame like a little mouse came darting in and out of a hole in the hall closet and darted back again. A policeman smelled it, so he ran around the corner, opened the red alarm box and called the fire department. Then he went back to the house. Ding, 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 rings the fire alarm in the little fire station. Ding, ding, ding. 5 little firemen slide down the firehouse pole. Sparks, shouts the first little fireman. He puts on his white helmet, twirls his black moustache and jumps into the little red chief's car with its shiny brass bell. Cling, clang. The first little fireman has to be the first at the fire to tell all the other firemen what to do when they get there. He is the fire chief. A fire won't wait, said the second little fireman. Round as a pumpkin, he jumps into the driver's seat of the hook and ladder truck, the biggest fire engine of all. We'll save all the people, says the third little fireman. The third little fireman jumps on the side of the hook and ladder truck as it rolls out the door. He has muscles as big as baseballs. He is that strong. He runs up the ladders and carries the people down the ladders, that third little fireman. We'll squirt lots of water, says the fourth little fireman, who is bright as a button and so drives the huge tower truck. I sneeze in the smoke, says the fifth little fireman. Spry as a fly, he jumps on his hose truck and roars out the firehouse door. Clang, clang, woo, woo, wee, woo. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Here come the 5 little firemen with a cling, clang, cling, and a wee and a woo. They go whizzing up a street called Oak Street, then whizzing around a corner into 12th Street, down Asphalt Avenue, and up the King's Highway, and over Baseball Boulevard to Small Bush Road. Dong, dong, dong. And there on Small Bush Road was the little house on fire. Flames the size of pocket handkerchiefs were waving out the windows and lots of smoke. This was the house of the Hurricane Jones family, and inside they were sleepily sneezing with smoke. House on fire, get out as quick as you can. Step lively, says the policeman. Mrs. Hurricane Jones tried to grab her 3 little boys and run out of the house with them. But when she went to grab them, The first little boy had run to grab his cat. The second little boy had run downstairs and out of the house to take care of his rabbits. And the third little boy had grabbed all the flowers that he had picked the day before and was halfway down the stairs with them. So Mrs. Hurricane Jones, still very sleepy, threw her mirrors out the window, picked up her pillow and ran downstairs. Mr. Hurricane Jones grabbed his pipe and his matches and came afterwards to be sure that all his family were out of the house and standing in a line on the lawn. And there they were, all safely out on their front lawn, each holding in his arms what he loved most. The first fireman shouts orders. The third fireman rushes off to find the cook. The second fireman backs the hook and ladder truck into just the right place. The Hurricane Jones's house is too tiny for big ladders, so he takes one of the little ladders and puts it up to the side of the house. The fourth little fireman points the water tower at the flames and squirts, and the fifth little fireman unrolls the hose and screws it onto the red fire hydrant. The water that runs under the street in big pipes all the time gushes through the hose. It squirts out of the nozzle like a roaring river through the air. Shh, swish. They smash in the windows to let out the smoke, and swish, in roars the water to put out the flames. The smoke gets all brown and yellow when the water hits it. They chop down the burning wood and throw fireproof blankets over the furniture. But where is the jolly cook? The third little fireman has found the cook, and he wants to carry her down the ladder on his back in the fireman's carry. Nix, says she. She's too big to carry and too big to jump into a net and too jolly to stay and burn up in the flames. So they shoot up the lifeline for the Hurricane Jones's jolly cook to slide down, and down she comes. Gee wallopers, she said. It was getting warm up there. And soon all the bright flames were wet, black ashes. And the crackling sound of the flames was quiet, and there was only the great purring of the red hose truck pumping water and the bright searchlights of the fire engines making the trees and the bushes much greener than they had ever been before. The fire was over, and the Hurricane Jones family went home with their Uncle Clement to sleep. Fire's out, calls the chief. Let's go, says the second little fireman. Some cook, says the third little fireman. The engines turn around and go away. Only their bells clang slowly now, clang, cling, clong, and a ding, ding, ding. They all go back to the firehouse. 5 little firemen have to wash the engines. They polish the bells and sirens and all their equipment to be ready for another fire alarm at any minute should one come. But there is no other fire that night. 5 sleepy firemen jump into bed. 5 little firemen, brave as can be, sleep, and they dream of the beautiful sea. The end. Have you ever seen a fire engine? They make a lot of noise when they go past, but they're a very good thing to have around if ever something catches on fire. So now we're going to read our very last story about a kitten who thought he was a mouse. Wonder how that happened. Let's find out. There were 5 Miggses, Mother and Father Miggs, and Lester and 2 sisters. They had, as field mice usually do, an outdoor nest for summer in an empty lot and an indoor nest for winter in a nearby house. They were very surprised one summer day to find a strange bundle in their nest, a small grey and black bundle of fur and ears and legs with eyes not yet open. They knew by its mewing that the bundle must be a kitten, a lost kitten with no family and no name. Poor kitty, said the sisters. Let him stay with us, said Lester. But a cat, said Mother Miggs. Why not, said Father Miggs. We can bring him up to be a good mouse. He need never find out that he's really a cat. You'll see, he'll be a good thing for this family. Let's call him Mickey, said Lester. And that's how Mickey Miggs found his new family and a name. After his eyes opened and he began to grow up just as mice do, eating all kinds of seeds and bugs and drinking from puddles and sleeping in a cozy pile of brother and sister mice. Father Miggs showed him his first tomcat at a safe distance and warned him to keep away from all cats and dogs and people. Mickey saw his first mousetrap. The most dangerous thing of all, said Mother Miggs, when they moved to the indoor nest that fall. He was too clumsy to steal bait from traps himself, so Lester and the sisters had to share with him what they stole. But Mickey was useful in fooling the household cat Hazel. He practiced up on meowing, for usually, of course, he squeaked, and became clever at what he thought was imitating the cat. He would hide in a dark corner and then meow, meow, he'd cry. Hazel would poke around, leaving the pantry shelves unguarded while she looked for the other cat. That gave Lester and his sisters a chance to make a raid on the leftovers. Poor Hazel. She knew she heard, even smelled another cat, and sometimes saw Cat's eyes shining in a corner, but no cat ever came out to meet her. How could she know that Mickey didn't know he was a cat at all, and that he feared Hazel as much as the mousiest mouse would? And so Mickey Miggs grew, becoming a better mouse all the time and enjoying his life. He loved cheese, bacon, and cake crumbs. He got especially good at smelling out potato skins and led the sisters and Lester straight to them every time. A wholesome and uncat-like food, said Mother Miggs to Father Miggs approvingly. Mickey is doing well. And Father Miggs said to Mother Miggs, I told you so. Then one day, coming from a nap in the waste paper basket, Mickey met the children of the house, Peggy and Paul. Eek! Mickey squeaked in terror. He dashed along the walls of the room looking for his mouse hole. It's a kitten, cried Peggy as Mickey squeezed through the hole. But it acts like a mouse, said Paul. The children could not understand why the kitten had been so mouse-like, but they decided to try to make friends with him. That night, as Mickey came out of his hole, he nearly tripped over something lying right there in front of him. He sniffed at it. It was a dish, and in the dish was something to drink. What is it? Asked Mickey. Lester didn't know, but timidly tried a little. No good, he said, shaking his whiskers. Mickey tried it, tried some more, and then some more, and some more, and more, and more, until it was all gone. He said, what wonderful stuff. It's probably poison, and you'll get sick, said Lester disgustedly. But it wasn't poison, and Mickey had a lovely feeling in his stomach from drinking it. It was milk, of course, and every night that week, Mickey found a saucer of milk outside that same hole. He lapped up every drop. He drank it, cried Peggy and Paul happily each morning. They began to set out a saucerful in the daytime too. At first, Mickey would drink the milk only when he was sure Peggy and Paul were nowhere around. Soon he grew bolder and began to trust them in the room with him. And soon he began to let them come nearer and nearer and nearer still. Then one day he found himself scooped up and held in Peggy's arms. He didn't feel scared. He felt fine, and he felt a queer noise rumble up from his back and all through him. It was Mickey's first purr. Peggy and Paul took Mickey to a shiny glass on the wall and held him close in front of it. Mickey, who had never seen a mirror, saw a cat staring at him there, a cat in Paul's arms where he thought he was, and he began to cry, and his cry, instead of being a squeak, was a mewing wail. Finally, Mickey began to understand that he was not a mouse like Lester and his sisters, but a cat like Hazel. He stayed with Peggy and Paul that night, trying not to be afraid of his own cat self. He still didn't quite believe it all, however, and the next morning he crept back through his old hole straight to Mother Miggs. "Am I really a cat?" he cried. "Yes," said Mother Miggs sadly, and she told him the whole story of how he was adopted and brought up as a mouse. "We loved you and wanted you to love us," she explained. It was the only safe and fair way to bring you up." After talking with Mother Miggs, Mickey decided to be a cat in all ways. He now lives with Peggy and Paul, who also love him and who can give him lots of good milk and who aren't afraid of his purr or his meow. Mickey can't really forget his upbringing, however. He takes an old rubber mouse of Peggy's to bed with him. And he often visits the Miggses in the indoor nest, where he nibbles cheese tidbits and squeaks about old times. And, of course, he sees to it that Hazel no longer prowls in the pantry at night. "Oh, I'm so fat and stuffed from eating so much in Hazel's pantry," Father Miggs often says happily to Mother Miggs. "I always said our Mickey would be a good thing for the family." And he is. The end. So these are classic little golden books from a very long time ago. These books came to my family when I was just a little girl, and still their stories are so much fun to read, and I've had such a good time reading them to you today. Now, I am going to finish up for now, but I'll be back again next week with more great books for Reading Corner. So I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye for now.